Hi guys, my name is Dr. Rocker and I asked you guys what you would like for today's video. And by a pretty huge majority, you guys wanted me to do a tutorial. And we will do one about rendering in comic book drawings. So let's get a piece of paper. And since I want to show you how to render a comic book drawing, we need a comic book drawing. So let's draw a sketch. That was fast! But hey, I'm wearing a Flash t-shirt, so... You might have noticed that I didn't ink the hair yet, but I will do a small hair tutorial because I think it was Barbara who asked for that. But we will do that later. First, we will take care of the cross-hatching part. Here you can see that I put a lot of line weight in the lines. The light source is like coming from here. So the outlines go from thick to thin because here is the light source. And that's also the same thing with our hatching. Okay, what I will mostly use is this Tombow brush pen. They are really great for doing all those rendering stuff thingies. Yeah. But you can also do your hatching with fine liners like the Copic multiliner or the Micron pen, which are really good and they are really cheap as well. But also this one, it's really not expensive. All of the links are down in the description. You can use pressure to vary your line weight with all of those pens. But you will get the biggest variety of lines with this Tombow pen. Look at that. You can really go thick. But you can also do very thin lines because of the very thin tip. Really a great tool. So I would highly recommend you to order this one. You have to get used to it. It's a little bit more difficult, but after a while you will love it as I do. If you want to practice your hatching, you can do this. Just make 2 dots and try to connect them over and over again. I learned this from David Finch. And you try and go further and further apart. It's also good for warming up. Try to concentrate to do an even space between the hatching lines. And you see, I'm taking my time here. Don't rush. A mistake I made and still do sometimes is that I was too lazy, and that ended up with me doing the hatching lines too far apart. The space between the lines can be quite narrow. Of course, it takes more time when you do that. But at the same time, you have to be very careful that your drawing is not getting too dark. Because the more narrow those hatching lines, the darker the drawing gets, as you can see right here. What's also very important is to move your paper. You will always find the direction you feel most comfortable when doing your lines. Oh, I'm messing this up already. I want this shoulder to be more jagged, like here, so I do this, just watch. And what I'm doing right here is more of a style choice, but I really think it looks great if you do lines like this, where you just break them. But you don't have to do that. Like I said, that's more of a style choice, but I think it makes the drawing more alive. Another thing that's important is to curve the lines in the right way due to the shape of the form you are shading. In this case, the triceps right here is round, so it's like this. So I will go with my hatching and make this light bow right here. And towards the light source, the space between the lines is getting bigger. When the shape of the form you want to render, like this vein here, is very small, then you do just this. A little thicker, very small lines. And then they can also fade away towards the light and come back again. Bring in some life. And if possible, don't do even a line here where the vein is, because the light is hitting from here and there's no shadow from the vein. But you will see the vein when you do the shading behind it, like this. Biceps. Now you can definitely see there's a vein, although there's no line drawn on this side where the light hits. This muscle right here is also quite small, so I will as well do those small, thicker lines. And when doing your hatching, you can do it like I do mostly, just a line in one flow. Or you can also do this. Whatever you feel most comfortable about. As you can see, I'm moving my paper around all the time. Every now and then, take a look at your drawing from afar to spot mistakes or areas that are too dark or too light. You can also take a look in the mirror, or even use your cell phone so you can take a look at your drawing from really far away. When doing folds like on Logan's shirt right here, don't do too much cross-hatching. Hatch in one direction and just do those fold things where you do like really a lot of lines in the same direction. And even here where I defined his muscles, I will almost only go in the direction of the folds. Maybe a little across. And you only hatch core shadows, not cast shadows. As you can see here, this muscle throws a shade down on this muscle. So this one will never be shaded. This stays like it is. But on the other side, I did those shadings because that's the rounding from that muscle, like here. When I go into the darker areas, I still want to let the vein pop out. Usually in real life this would all be dark, but it's just a neat look I like. It's a little bit like Frank Miller where everything is black but some things just aren't, and so they pop out really good. That's a very cool effect. On forearms I do mostly just hatching in one direction. I very seldom do cross hatching because there are so many lengthy muscles that I think it looks better if they're just hatched in one direction. Maybe a little bit down there because it needs to be darker because the light comes from above. But even here, a lot of lines. Curve them a little bit more in the right direction. I think these needs an extra bump right here, this muscle. It's too lean. Yeah, I guess that's better. Sometimes you just have to improvise. It's important to know some anatomy, but I'm not too keen on doing too much anatomy right. I think if it looks good, just do it like you want. It's a comic book drawing. It's not a comic book, it's just a comic book drawing. Hands are very tough to render. But like the forearm, I mostly do just one direction, which is also this one. A lot of strings, which are similar to veins. Very cool lines are lines like this, where I do this little C thing. When you do a thing like a bottle, you can go with very large shapes. That looks very nice, mixed with some smaller ones. You see? That looks cool. This is an Aurora beer bottle, by the way, which is the official Vienna Comic Con beer. And they have a neat backstory about this lady called Aurora. And I will do a video about her very soon, so stay tuned for that. And there's another reason why I like this pen so much, because you just saw me, I can do a really thick line quite fast, and also a really thin one next to it. It's really such a great all-rounder. In this area right here, I will do a light shadow like this, because when I would do a hard shadow, it would just be a big black blur. But in this case, I got a light shadow because the room is not that dark. There are more light sources than one. The biggest one is coming from this direction, but there's also a small one from this direction, so it's okay to do a light shade in this case. And the same goes for this shadow right here. We could leave it at that now, but we can also use this little friend of mine here, Micron 0.1 fine liner. Let's do some more really small details. As you can see, it's a really thin line. And we can use it to finish some of those right here. Gives the drawing some extra juice. Very good pen. You can also use it in the cross-hatching sections you've already done for in between. It's getting a bit darker, but it's a good look. I feel like this area is a bit too light, so I will try and do an extra bump. I will use the pencil because I'm not too sure, but I guess it will work, so let's just do it. Bit of figure thing here. And I'm almost only using the hatching from down to up for some reason. It works better. Maybe it's because the light source is coming from above. I don't know, it just works. Just try it out. Try to do a drawing with only going from the bottom to top. And to make the drawing look even more alive, you can do some half circles, but you also have to keep in mind from where the light hits, because it's a little bump in the skin. When the light hits from here, this area is darker. And also just some dots. I like to do that all the time, some bigger ones. And mostly I go in threes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And maybe one of those again. You can also do a circle, especially when you're doing a character like Wolverine, who's a bit rough. Okay, I guess this looks good enough. What's left is the hair. First, I want to say there's a pretty cool hair tutorial on David Finch's channel. Check it out, I will leave the link down in the description. But still, I will tell you a bit about the process when I'm doing Wolverine's hair right now. Let's do that. Okay, as you can see, I defined the hair already. And in this case, I will just do like a million lines. And they all have to follow the right way. That's actually the most important thing, I guess, about this kind of hair. A little bit of a wave every now and then, so it doesn't look stiff. Always follow the lines. At this point, I don't really have to take care of the light source. I just want to follow the trail of the hair. It's actually just a million lines, it's quite easy. I get that a lot. I do a lot of drawings with longer hair and stuff like that. And a lot of people are like, wow, this hair looks so great, but it's not really hard to do. Not at all. Okay, that was the main part, and now you have to think that the light is coming from this direction. So this section right here should be a little bit more light, and this should be a little bit more dark. Okay, like this. You can also use a normal brush pen, that's also working very good. But in this case, I guess that's all I need. And a smaller one for the details later. You just have to take a look from far away every now and then. I don't need that because I see it in the camera. Because only then you can really find out if it's too dark or too light at some areas. Light is coming from above. And he's got black hair. Black hair is always way more easy than blonde hair. Okay. And now I will use the 0.1 fine liner from Micron again to make some very fine lines for the hair. Makes a lot of difference. Just make those lines from dark to light. Looks awesome. Okay, and I guess that's enough for the hair. But it's Wolverine, he needs a beard. Same thing here. First, just a couple of hair for the direction. And then you think of the light source. Light is coming from here. And also some fine lines. Same thing here. And here we can go even darker because the light is coming from this side and this is the side of the face where there are more shadows. But still, I don't just block it out, I always follow the line. And even here, I go in with some small ones. Just a nice little detail. And now I will continue to use the 0.1 fine liner to do some extra hair from the beard and also all over the body. Just small, almost dots. And even here, I will do a lot of hair. Because that's necessary for Wolverine. He's a hairy dude. Oh, and thank you again for voting, my friends. It really was cool to see so many votes on my channel when I did questioning about what video I should do for this Sunday. And it really was kind of an eye-opener because really it was like, I think 68% of you guys wanted me to do tutorials, so I will have to do more tutorials. And I will also try to do more tutorial stuff in my normal videos. Also when I do my goofy drawing videos, I will take my time every now and then and try to explain something. On the forearm, the hair tends to be a bit longer for some reason. Mostly in the same direction, but not just little variations. They are not supposed to look like cross-hatching, they're supposed to look like hair. And we could do a little bit of hair on his chest. I will do short hair. I don't want him to look like David Hasselhoff. Nothing against David Hasselhoff, by the way, but it's Wolverine. Maybe a little bit of beard here on the chin as well. So he looks a little bit more rough on the edges. And I guess that's it. Wolverine is done, and now we just render the table a little bit. I like to do this, just like that. Very, very easy. Just some lines, variating with the line weight a little bit. It looks way more alive this way. And in this case, the table looks a bit like worn out. It's a bar table, has seen a lot of bar fights. You could even do some cracks and stuff like that. And when I'm going towards the viewer, I will increase the space between the lines, like a fade out. Oh, and there's one more thing. If you have one of those Posca markers in white, you can also use them to go in your hair again. That's also a good advice for drawing hair. Although you have to be careful. If you're using those and you want to use Copic markers or any other alcohol-based markers to color the piece, that's not the best idea because they will smear. So only use them if you want to go black and white. And that wraps it up, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and I hope you could take something with you. And if you like tutorials like that, just let me know down in the comment section. And let me know what tutorial would be on your list. And also, check out my tutorials playlist because I already did a bunch. So maybe there is something you might need actually. Check it out and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I will see you guys at my next video. Bye!